why 155 has me confused right now. I would like some clarity on that. I can't remember a time that 155 has been my favorite division. That might be a stretch right now. But maybe not. It's always been our hardest division. The only debate we've ever had is between 45 and 55. Which one is more difficult? What is going on with Ilia Topuria? Ilia Topuria sends out a tweet, and this is old news. You guys probably would have seen this a few days ago, but he sends out a tweet and says, when it gets announced what I'm doing next, your mind are going to be blown. And that doesn't necessarily start to conclude what he will be doing, but it definitely disqualifies a few things. Like, I would expect the undefeated world champion to be fighting for a world championship. So if he's doing that at 155, Captain Obvious, that would put him against Islam, but there's nothing that's a surprise about that. I expect him to be fighting Islam. See where that becomes a problem? I mean, what kind of a fight for Ilia Topuria? Ilia Topuria is a huge star in Spain. He is not a huge star here. He will be. He's on the cusp of it, but he's not. I'm only bringing that to you. Like, you can't count on selling out an arena with Ilia versus Islam. You cannot count on that. Not in America. You'd have to price it just right. You'd have to have the right co-main event. I mean, I'm just sharing for you. Like, for any of you that think that's a mega massive fight, you are wrong. It's not. Ilia's never been part of a mega massive fight. Islam has never been part of a mega massive fight. If you put those two negatives together, what do you think? You get a positive? And I'm not trying to be a dick about the fight. I'm just sharing for you. It's actually very exciting because if Ilia does one fight at 155 over any of the usual suspects, Charles, Oliveira, Sarukian, Justin Gaethje, Paddy Pimblett for that matter, if he does a fight with anyone at 155 and then draws into Islam, you are talking about a massive night of business. I mean, you're talking about a night of business that could rival Aspinall Jones. So to get the exact same fight that you're going to do anyway, you can take a roundabout and have it make a lot more sense for everybody. This is just my suggestion. I really can't imagine Topuria fighting and it not being for the title. Like that's what I feel in my heart. If I really had to bet, I just don't know if there's a way to do the story without going right to Islam. How are we going to justify it? How are we going to explain it? How are we going to explain the 45-pound champion moving up? How are we going to explain that no champion has ever moved up as a reigning champion and not gotten an immediate title fight? I mean, I'm just asking for you, like, yes, you would be right to guess he's going to fight Islam. The thing that disqualifies that is Ilia telling us what breaking news he's going to have. And there is a chance that Ilia is like every other fighter, which is lost in his own sauce. All right, you become a narcissist and you think that whatever you do is going to be a big deal because that's what you're used to. The people around you and the people on your social media are telling you that, but it's not reality. So that only jams us up with what we're going to do at the top. I mean, there's talks right now about putting Gaethje in for a world title. Now, the people that are saying that are drunk. They're drunk on the excitement of what we saw Saturday. It's what Errol Hawani would call a recency bias. There's nothing about Justin being 1-1 in his last two, or even 1-1 within this calendar year. That was a year ago, wasn't it? 300. Boy, time flies. His fight with Max was a year ago. Wow. But there's nothing about that screams world title, or putting a 36-year-old in for a world title that's already had chances at world title. There's nothing that screams that. That's just you right now, lost in the excitement. So what do you do with Justin? Because I don't hate the idea of a title, and there is another one. I mean, if Justin and Max was in fact the greatest fight that we've ever seen, when's the last time you ever saw the greatest fight you've ever seen and they didn't rematch it? And nobody seems to be talking about that. Nobody's talking about Gaethje and Max doing a rematch. I think they would, particularly when they realize that Max is the BMF champion. And But I still, as much as I'm laying that out for you, I don't know that that's the direction that I would bet that they're going in. Daniel Cormier had an idea earlier for Justin Gaethje, and he said, let's just do what was supposed to be done. Let's go find Dan Hooker. Okay. He won me over. The moment that came out of Daniel's mouth, like, that makes a lot of sense. And I could see that happening. It still does have a question of what do you do with Max? And don't forget, you got one last one with Poirier. So some of these top dogs are coming off the board. And what could Ilia possibly be talking about aside from lost in his own narcissism? And you have to consider that. Like there's not a reason that he would be the one exception. All fighters have that. All fighters think what they do in their bubble. They go down to their little gym and they got their little 4 or 5 people. They all think what they do is a big deal and the rest of us care about it. So we can't exclude that. But boy, it was already the talk. Ilia versus Islam, the narrative was already out on that. None of you had your minds blown. And whether Ilia's a narcissist or not, which, by the way, I'm not saying he is. I don't know. I'm saying you have to consider that perhaps he is. But, I mean, you'd have to be a real level of stupid to tell the world that their mind is going to be blown over a topic that's already being discussed. And I just don't think Ilia is that stupid. I really don't. Without even knowing him, I just don't. What fight could he possibly have that would blow our mind? He's never had a fight that blew our minds. This was when he was the world champion. He didn't have a fight that blew our minds. He was the world champion taking on the BMF champion. It didn't blow our minds. The only way that statement by Ilia can be true is if you bring somebody in from a different weight class. If somebody's coming down. If Ilia is skipping 155 and he's going right to 170, for example, none of which are my likely bets. You want to blow someone's mind, you would have to bring in Conor McGregor, who can't get down to that weight class. It's a very interesting statement by Ilia Topuria. He could be right. There could be something I'm not thinking of, and it blows our minds. But we don't have a lot of options here. Either he's not fighting Islam, he's potentially fighting a star like Conor. He's not fighting at 155 at all, which we've never been told he's going to 55. We all assumed he was going to 55. Or you have the chance that Ilia is a narcissist like the rest of them.